And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons and all the people of Israel, and saying to them, When any one of the house of Israel, or the sojourners in Israel, presents a burnt offering as his offering, for any of their vows or free will offerings that they offer to the Lord, if it is to be accepted to you, it shall be a male without blemish of the bulls or the sheep or the goats. You shall not offer anything that has a blemish, for it will not be accepted for you. And when anyone offers a sacrifice of peace offerings to the Lord to fulfill a vow as a free offering from the herd or from the flock, it will from the flock to be accepted, it must be perfect. There shall be no blemish in it. Animals blind or disabled or mutilated or having a discharge or an itch or scabs, you shall not offer to the Lord, or give them to the Lord as for food offering on the altar. You may present a bull or a lamb as has a part too long or too short for a free will offering. But for a vow offering it cannot be accepted. Any animal that has its testicles bruised or crushed or torn or cut you shall not offer to the Lord. You shall not do it within your land. Neither shall you offer as the bread of your God any such animal gotten from a foreigner, since there is a blemish in them. Because of their mutilation, they will not be accepted for you. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, When an ox or a sheep or a goat is born, it shall remain 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day on it shall be accepted as a food offering to the Lord. But you shall not kill an ox or a sheep and her young in 1 day. And when you sacrifice a sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Lord, you shall sacrifice it so that you may be accepted. It shall be eaten on the same day. You shall leave none of it until the morning. I am the Lord. You shall keep my commandments and do them. I am the Lord. And you shall not profane my holy name, that I may be sanctified among the people of Israel. I am the Lord who sanctifies you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, These are the appointed feasts of the Lord that you shall proclaim as holy covenants. They are my appointed feasts. 6 days shall you work. 6 days shall work be done. But on the 7th day is the Sabbath of Shalom rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work. It is the Sabbath to the Lord in all your dwelling places. These are the appointed feasts of the Lord, the holy convocations which you shall proclaim at the time appointed for them. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at twilight, is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of the unleavened bread to the Lord. For 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. but you shall present a food offering to the Lord for 7 days. On the seventh day is holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, and say to them, When you come into the land that I give you, and reap its harvest, you shall bring the sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest to the priest. And they shall weave the sheaf before the Lord, so that you may be accepted. On the day after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. And on the day when you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a male lamb a year old without blemish, as a burnt offering to the Lord. And the grain offering with it shall be 2/10 of an ephod of fine flour mixed with oil, a food offering to the Lord with a pleasant aroma. And the drink offering with it shall be of wine, 1/4 of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread nor grain parched with fresh until this day, until you have brought the offering of your God. It is a statute forever, throughout your generations, in all your dwellings. You shall count 7 full weeks from the day after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought forth the sheaf of the wave offering. You shall count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath, and you shall present a grain offering of new grain to the Lord. You shall bring from your dwelling places 2 loaves of bread to be waved, made of 2/10 of an ephod. They shall be made of fine flour, and they shall be baked with leaven, as first fruits to the Lord. And you shall present with the bread 7 lambs a year old without blemish, and 1 bull from the herd, and 2 rams. They shall be burnt offerings to the Lord, with their grain offerings and their drink offerings, a food offering with a pleasant aroma to the Lord. And you shall offer 1 male goat for a sin offering, and 2 male lambs a year old as sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread and the firstfruits as a wave offering before the Lord. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. And you shall make a proclamation on the same day. You shall hold a holy convocation. You shall not do ordinary work. It is a statute forever in all your dwelling places throughout your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap your field right up to its edge, nor shall you gather the gleanings after your harvest. You shall leave them for the poor and for the sojourner. I am the Lord your God. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe the day of solemn rest, a memorial proclaimed with blasts of trumpets, a holy convocation. You shall do no ordinary work, and you shall present a food offering to the Lord. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Now, on the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. It shall be for you a time of holy convocation, and you shall afflict yourselves and present a food offering to the Lord. And you shall not do any work on that very day. for it is a day of atonement, and make atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whosoever not afflicted on that day shall be cut off from his people. And whosoever does not work on that very day, that person I will destroy from among his people. You shall not do any work. It is a statute for forever throughout your generations and in your dwelling places. It shall be to you a Sabbath and solemn rest, and you shall afflict yourselves on the 9th day of the month beginning at evening. From evening to evening shall you keep your Sabbath. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, On the 15th day of this 7th month, for the 7 days of the Feast of Booths to the Lord. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. For 7 days you shall present food offerings to the Lord. On the 8th day you shall hold a holy convocation and present a food offering to the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. You shall not do any ordinary work. These are the appointed feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim as times of holy convocation, for presenting to the Lord food offerings, burnt offerings, grain offerings, sacrifices, and drink offerings, each on its proper day. Besides the Lord's Sabbaths, besides your gifts, and besides all your vow offerings, and besides all your free will offerings, will you give to the Lord. On the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the produce of the land, you shall celebrate the feast of the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be solemn rest, and on the 8th day shall be a solemn rest. And you shall take on the first day the fruits of splendid trees, branches of palm trees, and brooks of leafy trees, and willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before the Lord 7 days. You shall celebrate it as a feast to the Lord for 7 days in the year. It is a statute forever throughout your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All native Israelites shall dwell in your booths. The generations may know that I made the people of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Thus Moses declared to the people of Israel the appointed feast of the Lord. Mark chapter 9, verse 30 through chapter 10, verse 12. They went on from there and passed through Galilee, and he did not want anyone to know, for he was teaching his disciples, saying to them, The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And when he is killed, after 3 days he will rise. But they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to ask him. And they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you discussing on the way?" And but they kept silent, for on the way they had argued with one another about who was the greatest. And he sat down and called the 12, and he said to them, "If anyone would be first, he must be last of all and servant of all." And he took a child and put on his lap in the midst of them. And taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not but him who sent me." John said to him, "Teacher, we see one casting out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he was not following us. But Jesus said, 'Do not stop him, for no one who does a mighty work in my name will be able soon after to speak evil of me. For the one who is not against us is for us. For truly I say to you, whosoever gives you a cup of water to drink because you belong to Christ will no means lose his reward. Whosoever causes one of these little ones whom believes in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. And if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life crippled than with two hands to go into hell, to the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than 2 feet to be thrown into hell. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than 2 eyes to be thrown into hell, where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its saltiness, how will you make it salty again? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace with one another. And one left there and went out into a region of Judea, and beyond the Jordan of crowds gathered to him again. And again he was it was his custom, and he taught them. And Pharisees came up and in order to test him, and they asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife?" He answered them, "And did Moses condemn you?" They said, "Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of divorce and to send her away." And Jesus said to them, "Because of your hard-heartedness, he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate." And in the house the disciples asked him again about this matter. And he said to them, "Whosoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery." Psalm chapter 44, verses 1 through 8. O God, we have heard with our ears, our fathers have told us, what deeds you performed in their days, and in the days of old. You with your own hand drove out the nations, but them you planted. You afflicted the peoples, but them you set free. But not by their own sword did they win the land, nor their own arm saved them. By your right hand and your arm and the light of your face, for you delighted in them. Your King, O God, ordained salvation for Jacob. Through you we push down our foes. Through your name we tread down those who rise up against us. For not in my bow do I trust, nor can my sword save me. But you have saved us from our foes, and have put to shame those who hate us. In God we have boasted continually, and we will give thanks to your name forever. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 19. When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whosoever restrains his lips is prudent.